This exercise is called a high bear. In this video, I'm going to show you different versions of the bear family that can help out with different shoulder or neck discomfort that you may be experiencing, as well as knee and some low back. So in this video, I'm going to show you different ways that we can coach it to bias those different tissues. Now, the standard setup that we tend to do with this is the hand and the toe contact. Now, some of you who have stiffness of the feet, and I'll turn around here just so you can see, is you may have to encourage the foot a little bit to get more of the toes on the floor before you start. I don't know how many people I've seen where they just kind of start like this and they just let the feet kind of flail out just because of lack of attention to the area. And so I would start by letting those toes really extend, which is going to help out with other different parts of it. We can also do a similar thing with the hands here. I would do a really widespread hand, so the index or the middle finger is pointed directly forward on both hands, and then you root yourself into the mat. Once you're rooted, you will start to open the floor like you're trying to rip a section of this yoga mat in half by opening or screwing open the floor. When you do this, you'll feel a lot of activity in your shoulder, especially the lat area. If this doesn't work for you, I'll try the regressions later. But we're going to go here, keep those toes driven down, and then lift your knees up off the floor. Now, this is a good high tension position for this exercise. And ideally what we have people do is about 10 seconds on and 5 seconds off. And 10 seconds on and 5 seconds off. I usually don't count. I usually have people go through what we call a perceived effort rating scale, which is going to be 10 on, 5 off, 10 on, 5 off, until they feel, man, that is really hard. My quads are smoked, or my shoulder, and then I can't take any more at the moment. In that case, shake them out, spend 30 seconds, go back and set it all up again, and you're ready to go, and you got a couple more sets of it. So the reps will always change because the carrot keeps changing because we're not fully recovered between sets. Okay? So this is the high bear basic starting point. Now let's just say we wanted to actually help out with someone's knee condition and they always end up having like their knee hurts while doing it. So ideally we don't want people to hurt during exercises. Like there's very rare in a scenario where you have to go through the no pain, no gain, especially in the joint space with an exercise. So what you can do is you can bias this tissue by pushing harder into your toes. And so what that may look like is I'm not actually going to get up into the high bear exercise. The exercise framework has changed into now I'm just going to push my toes really hard into the floor until I feel my quads start to burn. And once you get that pre-burn, you can actually then use that intention of the pushing to go through the exercise. And that's how we'd bias the quads. Now let's just say we wanted to bias the shoulders. We would upregulate activity of the hand rooting here and then pushing and down and so on, okay? Now, some people don't fare very well with their neck with this, or you see these little trap monsters come up, they're always popped up. What you may have to do is actually push yourself away first or let yourself sag a little bit, but not sag so much that it looks like you're a drinking cow. So there's going to be a happy medium somewhere, and then you find the tension and then you hang out in it like so, okay? Now let's just say your wrists don't take this. Well, if you look at my wrist angle right here, this is a pretty steep angle. So what I could do is just move my hands out a little bit, all the same principles apply, and make sure that this angle is preserved as I go through the exercise, which is a lot better for people. Or you can actually take something rolled up, place it underneath your wrist like so, which also decreases the angle. Doing it this way actually increases the angle, so you want to put it underneath the heel of the hand. Now let's say this still doesn't work, like it bothers the elbow or the hand or the neck or something like that, or the back or the groin. You can also change it into what we call a low bear, just a lower version of a bear. And so we can go triangle here, splay the elbows, all the other stuff is the same. And then in this one where you're going to try to push the mat this way as you come up. I find that this version is way more biased at getting the shoulder blade areas in the middle to work. Okay. and which is beneficial for various different reasons. So there's a chance that your trainer may have picked this instead of the high burn in the first place because it does more of the job that you want. Okay, so you're here, 10 on, 5 off, and so on. Okay, now you don't have to keep the knees this low, and a lot of times people, when they're doing the bear series, they end up, like say their knee doesn't take it. Okay, their knee doesn't have that type of bend anymore. So we can actually let people go through a slight different variation of it, which is pretty much like you're trying to get up off the floor. Like that, right? And so we can pause them at any point in time through any of these just to hang out and wait. Okay? Or we can just pause into this position, which is the hips up, less knee, the knee's not as bent, so it's less knee quad dominant, it's a little bit more hip dominant, and this can help out quite a bit. So that is the basic version of like a hip change. Now, when I like to progress people out of this, we're actually going to do a regular human movement, which all of these floor exercises essentially turn into a regular human movement. All right, and we're going to basically push your way off the floor, stand up, crawl your way back down, super slow each direction. Now, if we wanted to get a nice quad burn with this, which is sometimes fun, we would actually not lock out at the top. And this gets people's quads going pretty good in this one too. Okay. Now, believe it or not, there's still variations that we can do, and we can do one with a slight change of foot position in the back. You glue those babies down, you crawl yourself up here, and then down again. And all of a sudden, and I'll change legs so you can see, all of a sudden, my right butt cheek is on fire. So now this single leg stance version biases the glutes versus the quads quite as much, but you'll still probably tank the quads some. Okay, so you're going through the movement of it, but also there's nothing wrong with an isometric hold in this position here, or in this position here, which is really hard. You see me shaking there, right? So here's the basics. Let me run it down again. If your trainer may have chosen a hand or elbow contact. Either one is fine. They may have chosen a non-moving version called an isometric version, which is fine, or they pick a moving version, which is fine. Every exercise is different for everybody, and each exercise has to have a purpose. If it serves that purpose, then that's why we keep it, and eventually we progress it into a weight training one or a sporting activity. So I hope this was helpful to everybody, and if you like the channel, subscribe, give me a thumbs up. And if you want to work with us virtually or in person, just reach out our contacts below.